The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Ha! Hello,
Hi again.
hello. How is everybody doing today? Welcome to Ganja Gospel.
Welcome. Shout out to everybody on the network over there at the Dorkening and Hellfire and still Toking with. Hell yeah, get your Deadly Grounds, order up, hurry up and buy.
Hurry up and buy. So, welcome to Ganja Gospel. Today we are doing the third tablet. I will be reading out of the lovely book of Enki, and he will pause me and discuss.
And I'm getting high.
And we're all going to get high at the same
Getting
time.
high.
Because it is time to open your minds, expand your consciousness, and start realizing what the fuck the truth is.
That's right, Seymour. What's up?
What's up, everybody?
Hello. If you guys missed out on the MichiganjA MisfiTZ Grow Big, Go Home show, go over there and check it out, man. There's plants that are growing big. And they're at home.
They are at home.
They're at home. Grow big at home.
Growing big at home.
Grow big at home. Show. Downtown Lizzie Brown, what's up?
What up, Lizzie?
I gotta check out what you were saying.
What up, everybody? Seymour, Hilltop, J Vike, Hilltop. Oh, I'm just reading up the people. You see, just commenting twice. Everybody on the Dorkening and still Toking with, and everybody in all of the network areas. Most of us are chit-chatting in the TwizTD RootZ YouTube channel. You will find that link in the description below, and everybody else is going to find all those fabulous links for all these other network places that we're talking about also in the description below.
There.
So please make sure you are showing the love to this amazing community that is expanding every single day.
That's right. What up, Scott?
So what are we talking about today, babe?
Today we're talking about tablet 3, right?
We are.
And you have to read it.
I do. Except I kind of want to smoke just a little bit more first before I really start getting
Oh, she wants to hear it?
Because, you know, like when I read, there's not a whole lot of space in between.
Hell yeah. So today I'm sure we're going to be talking about some kind of cool stuff that happened. Now, in the last 2 episodes, remember, we learned about our solar system. We learned about another sun, right? The sun of the sun, okay? And we learned about that sun coming through our solar system in a cross pattern. So if all of our planets go around this way, it goes this way in an elliptical formation. We learned about how that planet's atmosphere was crumbling and they needed gold. And they knew where some gold was, and they flew over here to Earth. One dude did, with a nuclear warship, right? Nuclear meaning it had missiles. And then, you know, he beamed back the signal back to his home planet Nibiru that there was gold on Earth. And then so Earth mission begins. I'm sure in this tablet, we're going to hear how they prepared for this mission and got everything ready and then came over and figured out what they needed to do from there. And I'll tell you, the first thing they did, you can still do today, right? So there was an inventor that actually put together this old Anunnaki recipe for extracting gold from water. Now, what he was doing was filtering the ocean. It was for something, I can't remember if it was for cleaning salt water or converting energy. I think it was energy from waves, but also it was contracting gold and other minerals, and he would separate them, just like the Anunnaki was talking about doing. His invention didn't go anywhere, but needless to say, it's out there in blueprint form, and you can do this, like literally just capture gold from water. You know, it's there. So this didn't, of course, work for the Anunnaki because they were trying to re-atmosphere their planet. So the small amounts of gold that you can collect from just sitting in water wasn't sufficient. So they need to figure out how. You could have been smoking this the whole time I'm talking. They got to figure out how and where they're going to get this gold from, and what they're going to do for it. And remember, reported through a sensor scan, there was no living humanoid life forms on that planet. On the planet Earth, there was no humans. Nobody had buildings. Nobody was walking around with sticks. Nobody was hunting. Nobody was gathering. Nobody was an ape man going with that had a spear, right? No one had. There was none of that. There was no signs of civilization of any type. They said of any type. They were animals. There were animals at that in that time. You know, they do report things later talking about these animals.
I didn't think that was going to last very long.
And he's out of here. Big old black bear.
All right.
What's happening?
Let's figure out what really is in this third chapter. Ready for the synopsis?
Synopsis of the third chapter. In the beginning,
third tablet, actually.
Your God said, "Let there be light." And there was.
In the third tablet, Alelu beams the news to Nibiru, reclaims the kingship. Anu, astounded, puts the issue before the royal council. Enlil, Anu's foremost son, suggests on-site verification.
Yep. They don't believe him.
I'm sorry, I'm still struggling on some of these names.
EA Sports. Get in the game.
Ea, Anu's firstborn, and a son-in-law of Alelu, is chosen instead. Ea ingeniously equips the celestial boat for the journey. The spaceship, piloted by Anzu, carries 50 heroes. Overcoming perils, the Nibiruans thrill by Earth's sight. Guided by Alelu, they splash down and wade ashore. Eridu, home away from home, is established in 7 days. Extraction of gold from the waters begin. Though the quantity is minuscule, Nibiru demands delivery. Abgal, a pilot, a pilot chooses Alelu's spaceship for the trip. Forbidden nuclear weapons are discovered in the spaceship. Ea and Abgal remove the weapons of terror and hide them.
You hear certain things here, right? You hear Anzu, right? Keep that fucking perfectly up front in your mind. Anzu's a pilot of the spaceships, right? What's the other dude's name? The last guy.
Abgal or
Abgal. Abgal is another pilot, right? And then you also hear that these nuclear weapons are forbidden. They're forbidden even on their planet. But we heard in the previous episodes that they let them come into play again so they can save their planet. They were using them to shoot them into volcanoes to hopefully blow up inside their planet and make these volcanoes explode again and then make atmosphere. Because if you don't know, that's how you make atmosphere on planets. So they were trying to do that. Alelu lost in a kingship battle. Anu became king on Nibiru. Alelu jumped in that ship with those warheads.
It was like the last one left with the warheads active.
No, there was a whole
there?
whole fucking bunch of them parked right there.
Okay.
And so he just jumped in one of them and left. Okay. You know, because they were also taking those to the asteroid field, the asteroid belt, and trying to blow their way and find mining and shit. So he took them here. And now I just want you to know that they say forbidden, right? Weapons. These were forbidden, right? Go ahead.
Okay. The third tablet. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions, you must give heed. Those were the words of Alelu. From dark-hued earth to Nibiru, they were by the speaker beamed. When the words of Alelu to Anu, the king, were conveyed, Anu astounded were the counselors, amazed were the sages. Alelu was not dead, they each other asked. Could indeed he on another world be living? They with disbelief were saying.
Yes, they thought he died. They didn't know what happened to him after he lost that fight with Anu. They were just praising Anu, and it was like, you're the king, yay! And they totally forgot about this dude.
Was he not on Nibiru hiding in the chariot to a place of concealment gone? Go ahead. I need to read. The commanders of chariots were summoned. Savants, the beamed words considered. The words from Nibiru did not come. From beyond the hammered bracelet were they spoken. This was their finding. This to Anu, the king, they reported. Stunned was Anu. The happening he pondered. Let words of acknowledgement to Alelu be sent. To the assembled he was saying. At the place of the celestial chariots, the command was given. To Alelu words were spoken. Anu, the king, to you his greeting sends. Of your well-being to learn he is pleased. For your departing from Nibiru there was no reason. Enmity is not in Anu's heart.
Enmity.
If gold for salvation you have indeed discovered, let Nibiru be saved. The words of Anu Alelu's chariot did reach. Alelu them quickly answered. If your savior I am to be, your lives to save. Convene the princes to assembly. My ancestry declare supreme. Let the commanders make their leader bow to my command.
So these are Alelu's commands.
Let me read that. Let the commanders make me their leader bow to my command.
Yep.
Let the council pronounce me king on the throne Anu to replace.
Yep.
When the words of Alelu on Nibiru were heard, great was the consternation.
Yep. So that's Alelu. Remember, he said, if I go to Earth and find gold, I want that kingship back. If I'm going to save this planet, I want the kingship back. So he beams back to Nibiru, hoping that he'll get the kingship back, you know, because they live good lives. And so it's like, hey, I got gold. And then on Nibiru, they're like, what? Oh, he wants to be the king again? Shit. Because remember, he was a tyrant, and the world was actually being destroyed worse. It fell into worse, way worse, 3 times as worse than any other king before him. Go ahead. Beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. How could no, I'm blushing.
It's time for you to take a hit.
No, I need to read.
Okay.
like I can feel it in my throat. I'm gonna cough.
We're blushing.
How could Anu be deposed? The counselors ask each other. What if Alelu mischief, not truth, is telling? Where is his asylum? Did gold indeed he find? They summoned the sages of the wise and learned counseling. They asked. The oldest of them spoke. I was Alelu's master, he was saying. He had hearkened to teachings of the beginning, of the celestial battle he was learning. Of the watery monster Tiamat and her golden veins he knowledge acquired. If indeed beyond the hammered bracelet he had journeyed, on earth the 7th planet is his asylum. In the assembly a prince spoke up. A son of Anu he was, of the womb of Antu, Anu's spouse, he was the issue. Enlil was his name, Lord of the command, it meant. Yes. Words of caution he was saying. Of conditions Alelu cannot speak. Calamities were his handiwork. By single combat and wrestling he the throne forfeited. If Tiamat's gold he indeed had found, proof of that is needed. It is for protecting our atmosphere sufficient. Is it for protecting our atmosphere sufficient? How through the hammered bracelet to Nibiru can it be brought? Thus did Enlil, the son of Anu, speak. Others many questions also asked. Much proof was greatly needed. Many answers are required. All agreed. The words of the assembly to Alelu were conveyed. A response demanded. Alelu, the words merit pondered. To transmit his secrets he agreed. Of his journey and its perils in truth he an account gave. Of the tester its crystal innards he removed. From the sampler its crystal heart he took out. Into the speaker he the crystals inserted. All the findings to transmit. Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king. Bow to my command, he sternly demanded. The sages were aghast. With weapons of terror, Alelu on Nibiru more havoc caused. With weapons of terror, a path through the bracelet he blasted. Once in its circuit, Nibiru, that region passes, calamities Alelu was amassing. In the council there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter.
You heard what she said, though, right? So when Nibiru passes through the asteroid field, once every 3,600 years, it causes great calamities. But they're tripping out because they're like, dude, he blasted through it. That means he's caused great calamities already. So when you hear about possibly, our planet got bombarded and the dinosaurs died, this could have been this guy. This could have been this guy that came and blasted the Earth. The whole Earth didn't have to die. Maybe it wasn't a planet killer. Maybe it killed regions, because when they come here, they describe it being frozen. So there could only be the strip that was actually inhabitable, that if an asteroid hit, it could destroy someone like that, right? So he could have killed Mars. He could have been blasted the moon. He was shooting asteroids everywhere is what they're talking about there, right? Then you also got Enlil. His name, their names mean stuff. There's not their name. Like, I'm TwizTD RootZ. That's not my name, right? Their name means stuff. So Enlil, that's not his name. Enlil means master of the command. That's what his name means. Like, they were given names that meant shit. Like,
that were for their positions.
Yeah. Like
so they were called.
When they took a wife, their wife might have had a name of this. But then when she becomes their wife, the name will be the wife of Enlil. Like, it's so weird. It's weird how they do it, but it's a king thing. And it was all for meaning. So when you go through this, and she'll read certain words, and then I'll point it out that it's the meaning. Like, specifically Satan, it means the adversary. Anybody that went against you could have been Satan. Anybody.
You can call anybody who is your adversary Satan.
Satan.
Like, if you spew out hatred and Satan. Really, honestly, all you're saying is, you're my adversary.
Adversary. You went against me. You know what I'm saying? You're not agreeing with what I'm saying. You didn't do what I told you to do. You didn't follow the fucking rules. You didn't follow the directions, right? You are the adversary to my word. And you'll find out that Enlil has this power trip problem. He's the master of the command. He's the Lord. You heard that word, Lord. When we go around our world, our realm of earth, what do we find? Even in the medieval days, barons, lords, kings, right? When you go to the Bible, these are the same things you hear in religion, lords and kings. Now, just like she read, they were like, how the hell did Alelu know about Earth? Like, what is this? Where's the sages at? The people who teach the books, the ancient writings. Imagine this. We have this stuff written on our planet. We have libraries full of knowledge that they want us to know, right? Full of knowledge. Who'd have ever thought that on a different planet, they have ancient knowledge of our solar system and how it formed? Imagine being able to get any of their writings and be able to read them today, like this book that's talking about this, right? And I've read other things about Nibiru to where these were frequency masters. They were giants, right? Compared to our standards today, they were giants. They were as tall as our trees, right? Because when the people of their time stood up to them, they came to their knees. Those people were 15 plus feet tall. You got to understand that they were not 6 foot tall people. They were 15-foot tall people that were knee high or waist high to the gods, which were at least 25 foot tall. It was just, it's written. It's shit is written. So when this dude's going forward, he's got all this big problems. He's got all kinds of different power trip problems. So we're going to hear about the Lord stuff, right? And then we're going to get into it later with Jesus, the Lord, the King, the this, the that, right? It's all the exact same stuff. Okay, what else you got here?
Okay. In the council, there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter. Anu, not by ancestry alone was king, by fair wrestling the throne he attained. In the assembly of the princes, a son of Anu stood up to speak. He was wise in all matters, among the sages renowned he was. Of the secrets of the waters he was a master. Ea, he whose name is water, he was called. Of Anu he was the firstborn. To Damkina, Alelu's daughter, he was espoused. My father by birth is Anu the king. Ea was saying, Alelu by marriage my father is. To bring the two clans into unison was my espouse's intention.
Now, do you understand this, right? So you got Anu, his true son to his half-sister is Enlil. Anu also has another son by his wife that is married, or not his wife, to a concubine that he banged in his harem. And that concubine is married to the king that's on earth, found gold, beaming it back. You see what I'm saying? This shit is twisted. All right, go ahead.
Lots of twistedness. Just remember that it's all within families. The more pure blood you have, the higher of hierarchy you can be.
Yep.
So if they could be with their sisters and brothers before anyone else, that is what they did, which is why it's so fucking twisted.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. And
when she's reading this and she says savants, those are scientists. When she says sages, those are witches. Those are the people who knew spells and did all the sagey shit. They were like wizards. Straight up wizards. They knew the ancient texts. They knew the secrets of the stars. They knew the planets. They knew all that secret shit. They broke it down into sections. Like, you had this job, you had this job, and they studied that specifically.
Let me be the one in this conflict unity to bring. Let me, Anu's emissary to Alelu be. Let me be the one Alelu discoveries to uphold. Let me in a chariot to earth journey, a path through the bracelet with water, not fire I shall fashion. On earth, from the waters let me the precious gold obtain. To Nibiru back it will be sent. Let Alelu be king on earth, a verdict of the sages awaiting. If Nibiru it will save, let there be a second wrestling. Who shall Nibiru rule? Let it determine. The princes, the counselors, the sages, the commanders heard Ea's words with wonder. Full of wisdom they were, for conflict they solution found. Let it so be, Anu announced. Let Ea journey, let the gold be tested. Alelu a second time I shall then wrestle. Let the winner be on Nibiru, king.
Yes.
Let me stop.
No.
The words of decision to Alelu were conveyed. He pondered them and agreed. Let Ea, my son by marriage, to earth come. Let gold from the waters be obtained. Let it for salvation on Nibiru be tested. Let a second wrestling kingship by me or Anu settle. So be it. Anu in the assembly decreed. Enlil rose in objection. The king's word unalterable was. Ea to the place of the chariots went. Commanders and sages he consulted. The mission's dangers he contemplated. How to extract and bring the gold he considered. Alelu's transmission he carefully studied. Alelu for more testings, the results he requested. He requested a tablet of destinies for the mission he was fashioning. If water be the force, where could it be replenished?
Do you understand that real quick? Stop for one second. He was fashioning a tablets of destiny for the mission. Now you heard her read that, and he had to figure out all this shit. He was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I don't know. What do you do when you have all these ideas in your head? You need to make a list. You need to map it all out on a tablet of destiny, right? The tablet to your destination. What do I want to accomplish here? Where do I want to go? So you're going to keep hearing these tablets of destiny all the time. This has nothing to do with that fantasy shit that people say, this is my destiny. That's nothing to do with the supernatural shit. This is strictly them using their technology. This is all this is. They literally had frequency pens with like this rocker metal that was on there. I think it was a Nibiru crystal is what I think it is. And it vibrated, or it could have been vibranium actually, maybe. And they wrote in crystal tablets. They would cut crystal in sheets and write it on them. Right? So when you hear these tablets of destiny, don't get shit twisted. Don't think all this fantasy sword shit, right? It's strictly a tablet that they're writing things down, an outline or a list or a way to go home, right? You'll hear it again later. They have it all mapped out. They have all these rules and how society's going to be run and where I'm going to put buildings up. And I'm going to, for these coordinates, I'm going to start a town over there on this grid marker because of ley lines. You're going to find this. Cheers, yo.
If water be the force, where could it be replenished? Where on the chariot will it be stored? How to force will it be converted? A full circuit of Nibiru did pass in contemplations, a shar of Nibiru in preparations past.
One shar.
The largest celestial chariot for the mission had been fitted. Its circuit's destiny has been calculated. A tablet of destiny has been firmly affixed. 50 heroes will for the mission be required to journey to Earth, to gold, the gold to obtain. To the journey Anu his approval gave. The stargazers for the journey, the right time to begin, then selected. At the place of the chariot.
You hear that right there, though. The stargazers, right? So imagine this. There's a sun. There's 9 planets going around that sun this way. And you're another sun, but you think you're a planet, right? You think you're on a planet because that's the planet you're from. But to us, that planet is a sun. Don't ever think it's not. That's why people are recording some crazy shit like this. Dude, I saw this guy today with this video. He goes, every day I come out of work and that sun goes down right there. Why is the sun way over there? And I said, hey, you're awake now. Cool. So it's the sun. So imagine it's going, everything's like this, and then you're going like this. So they're stargazers. You know, people think that, you know, space is fake and stuff, but it's not, because other planets are reading stars too. Okay. So they got to figure out by their stars. I wonder what constellation we are. Like, what are we in? Like, what is our sun? What constellation does our sun fit in? Because when we look at the stars and we see all those stars, they're different suns and they make up constellations for us. But I wonder if you were on one of their planets, like what constellation are we a part of that they see, right? So they have to figure this out, where the stars are going to be to where they're going to come close enough to the Earth to that they can jump through. They can just be like, here you go, jump off. Because think about it. So when they're coming through, if they come through the same spot every time, 3,600 years, boom, 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 one char, right? They're coming through, and then the Earth's way the fuck over here. Like, you're talking about an expanse that's retarded amounts of space that was hard for them. You know, imagine being on a planet that you could travel space, but it's hard to figure out how, once you're in our solar system, to just drive over to Earth. I'd play video games. I mean, it's not too hard to bounce around, but I see it from a different angle. Imagine being in our solar system where all you see is blackness, and then there's a ball of light over there. That's how it would be until you're right up on a planet. You're like, oh, hey, man, it's a big planet here. You know, so they had to plot this shit out and figure out how they were going to do it, right? And
these planets move.
Yes, and Ea, his name means water, right? He's the master of water, right? They got to figure out how they're going to store this water on a ship. Well, guess what? It just turns out that we learned a lot of shit from these tablets here in our society. What up, Crypto Roger? What up, everybody?
Hi, everybody. Cheers.
Check it out. So NASA, we learned that water is an insulation for radiation from these tablets, I believe, right? So NASA coats their entire ship with their water supply. Their entire ship is held within, or their entire water supply is held within their ship walls.
Wow.
Which completely protects the ship of all radiation from coming through, or they would be really gamma radiation. They would be getting hit with everything.
Right.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And I believe it's from these ancient tablets, because how the fuck would we know that if they didn't do it first and write it down and figure it out? And then they were able to have water on their ships and also squirtle it out. They squirreled it out. You'll see.
To the journey, Anu gave his approval gave. The stargazers for the journey, the right time to begin, then selected. At the place of the chariots, multitudes gathered, to bid farewell to the heroes, and their leader did they come. Bearing eagles' helmets, carrying each a fish's suit, the heroes, the chariot one by one entered. The last to embark was Ea. To the gathering he bade farewell. Before his father Anu he knelt down, the king's blessing to receive. My son, the firstborn, a far journey you have undertaken, for us all to be endangered. Let your success calamity from Nibiru banish. Go and in safety come back. So did Anu to his son speak a blessing, bidding him farewell. The mother of Ea, the one called Ninul, to her heart embraced him. Why, after by Anu as a son to give to me you were given, did he with a restless heart you endow? Go and come back, the hazardous road traverse safely. To him she said. With tenderness Ea kissed his spouse, Damkina, he without words embraced. Enlil, with his half-brother, locked arms. Be blessed, be successful, to him he said.
So right here we heard about Ea, okay? Yeah, that's Lord Enki, right? Ea, we heard about his true father, Anu. We heard about his birth mother, which was a concubine to Anu, not married yet, okay? But then later married Alelu, but still had Ea as a child. So Ea grew up with Alelu as a father, even though his birth father is Anu, okay? Now, we also heard about Damkina, which is Ea's wife, okay? Ea's wife is Damkina, okay? It's a super, super important stuff. You need to know who these people are because, you know, a lot of people pray to stuff today. A lot of people take entities and stuff, and you don't actually, I don't believe you know the hierarchy or who they are or what they turned into.
Names change.
Well, some of these people came here and got real lustful, greedy, and bad. Everything in your Bible that it says you shouldn't be doing, they did and still do today. It's like this total mind warp thing, right? So we're going to hear the twists and turns of all these different characters and find out why your God in your Bible was banished for rape. We're going to find out, and why he used nukes.
I'm sorry, I'm having
Waldo.
a hard time saying.
In the bushes.
With heavy heart,
Right.
Ea the chariot entered to soar up the command he gave. Now this is the account of the journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters was begun. With heavy heart, Ea the chariot entered to soar up the command he gave. The commander's seat by Anzu, not by Ea, was occupied. Anzu, not Ea, was the chariot's commander.
Because Ea did not know how to pilot a ship. Not a plane, not a fucking spaceship, not a helicopter. He did not know how to fly anything. He didn't know how to sail. He was an on-the-ground wizard, straight up.
He who knows the heavens, his name's meaning was, for the task he was especially selected. A prince among the princes he was, of royal seed, his ancestry he counted. The celestial chariot he deftly guided, from Nibiru it powerfully soared, toward the distant sun he it directed. 10 leagues, 100 leagues the chariot was coursing, 1,000 leagues the chariot was journeying. Little Gaga came out to greet them, a welcome to the heroes it was extending. To blue-hued Antu, the beautiful enchantress, it showed the way. By her sight, Anzu was attracted. Let us examine her waters, Anzu was saying. Ea, to continue without stopping, gave the word. It is a planet of no return, he forcefully said. Toward the heavenly On, the third in planetary counts, the chariot continued.
So the first planet they encountered was a blue planet, and they wanted to go down and check the waters. But they said it was a planet of no return. Okay.
On his side was On lying. The host of moons about him were whirling. The tester's beams, the presence of water was revealed. A stop, if needed to Ea, it was indicating.
So from space, as they're flying around this planet, they shot laser beams down like we see in the video games, like we see on Star Trek and space movies and sci-fi. They shot beams down on this planet and found water.
To continue the journey was Ea saying, toward Anshar, the heaven's foremost prince he was directing. Soon the ensnaring pull of Anshar they could tell, his colored rings with fear they admired. Deftly did Anzu the chariot guide, the crushing dangers he cleverly avoided. The giant Kishar, foremost of firm planets, was next to be encountered. Her net's pull was overpowering. With great skill did Anzu the chariot course divert. With fury, Kishar at the chariot divine lightnings was thrusting. Her host at the uninvited she directed. Slowly Kishar moved away, for the chariot the next enemy to encounter. Beyond the fifth planet, the hammer bracelet was lurking.
Do you guys understand that? They went straight from Pluto to Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Mars, Jupiter. That was the big lightning planet,
Kishar.
Right? Yeah, that's the lightning planet. And then once that moved out of the way, they seen the hammer bracelet, right? And then beyond that's Mars. I believe. Something like that.
I gotta look at the solar system now.
I know, I forget all the time too.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
I get stoned, man. Hey, the solar system don't mean shit no more. There's another planet, another sun that these idiots knew about, never said shit about, and just hoped it never came through in our lifetime.
Beyond the fifth planet, the hammered bracelet was lurking. Ea, his handiwork to set a whirring, commanded the water thruster to prepare. Toward the host of turning boulders, the chariot was rushing, each one like a slingshot stone ferociously at the chariot aimed. The word by Ea was given. With the force of 1,000 heroes, the stream of water was thrust. One by one, the boulders turned face, a path for the chariot they were making.
Yep.
But as one boulder fled, another in its stead was attacking. A multitude beyond count was their number, a host for the splitting of Tiamat, revenge seeking.
Now, here's the thing, guys. Hold your place. So, I'm at Jupiter, right? I'm flying through the solar system. I'm in a spaceship. I was on a planet that's going up and down through the same solar system. So, I've been on top of our solar system, and I've been on the bottom of our solar system looking up. If I'm on that planet, right? Here's my thing. So I'm at Jupiter, big, huge fucking planet. Now, NASA and everybody will have us believe that this is a hammered bracelet, like thin across the realm. Here's Mars, here's Jupiter, and then here's this thin piece of rock. And then I'm a spaceship, right? Why am I not going above it or below it? If it's it's not a bracelet. Magnets don't work like that, right? The electromagnetic force that holds planets in place is a bubble. It's a bubble. So the hammered bracelet is a fucking ring. It's a big, huge ring that's thin, but it's the whole bubble shell. It's the exact bubble of that magnet surrounding between Jupiter and Mars. This is why they couldn't go above it or below it. Why wouldn't they have? You would. If your planet goes this way and our realm goes, if you're down here, I'm below the solar system. I'm looking up the Earth's ass. If I'm up here, I'm from at the top. I don't have to go through anything unless it's a ball, unless it surrounds everything. And it has to. For them to explain it like this, it has to. They're not stupid. They would just go, hey, there's Mars. That was easy. Why do we try to go through this, man? That's fucking dumb. One, they would shoot through it and make a hole through it, and other boulders would come in its place as they try to move forward. Where the fuck did those boulders come from? Is it all that packed in that little tiny ring? Get the fuck out of here. It's a big globe around it. That's the only way a magnet works. It's how it works. All right, go ahead. That's my most very fascinating part about the actual bracelet. And I think this is why they say they can't get out the motherfucker. It's hard to get out of it because of how they're describing it here.
But as one boulder fled, another in its stead was attacking. A multitude beyond count was their number, a host for the splitting of Tiamat, revenge seeking. Again and again, Ea the commands gave at the water thruster to keep a whirring. Again and again toward the host of boulders, streams of water were directed. Again and again the boulders their faces turned, a path for the chariot making. And then at last the path was clear. Unharmed, the chariot could continue. A cry of joy the hero sounded. Double was the joy as the sight of the sun was now unveiled. Amidst the elation, Anzu the alarm sounded. For the path to have fashioned, excessive waters were consumed.
So imagine, you heard them say they couldn't see the sun. You heard it. They couldn't see the sun until they cleared a path through this fucking bracelet. And they're like, hey, there's the sun. Hell yeah. Right? It's insane. They talk about a path, the path of Little Gaga, right? The path, that's the Milky Way. You're going to hear it again later. They changed the name to the path of Anu, and they know where our planet is because of the Big Dipper. And guess what? I get to watch every goddamn night. The Big Dipper right there. I see when they come from their planet and get off the highway and come to ours. It's wild, though. Go ahead.
Amidst the elation, Anzu the alarm sounded. For the path to have fashioned, excessive waters were consumed. Waters to feed the chariot's fiery stones for the remaining journey were not sufficient. In the dark deepness, the sixth planet they could see, the sun's rays it was reflecting.
Did you hear that? Hold on 1 second. You guys heard it, right? Read that one again. How did they power their ships?
Waters to feed the chariot's fiery stones for the remaining journey were not sufficient.
So there you go. They had crystals, fiery stones, crystals. They used water to power this son of a bitch. This is crazy, bro. There's no fuel. There's no electro this, electro that. There's no red mercury. It was crystals in water, bro. This is technology that we don't have to our hands today. Imagine you fill in your car with water, bro. Water. Piss would work. Man, this shit pisses me off so bad. Go ahead.
There is water on Lamu, Ea was saying. Can you bring the chariot down upon it? Anzu was asking.
Water on Mars.
Deftly Anzu the chariot toward Lamu directed, reaching the celestial god. Around it he the chariot made circle. The planet's net is not great. Its pull is to handle easy, Anzu was saying.
The magnetism of the planet was not great. Go ahead.
I lost my spot.
The net pull.
A sight to behold was Lamu, many-hued it was. Snow-white was its cap, snow-white were its sandals. Reddish-hued was its middle, in its midst lakes and rivers were a-glitter. Deftly Anzu the chariot made travel slower. By a lakeside it gently came down. Ea and Anzu their eagles' helmets donned. To the firm ground they stepped down. On command the heroes that which water sucks extended.
So check it out. They come to Mars. It's got snow caps on the top of the planet. So the planet's a ball. The whole top's snow. The whole bottom snow. In the middle, it's brown hue like we see it today, red. And there's lakes and rivers everywhere. Everywhere, people. See bothering you?
No. The planet's net is not great. Its pool is I'm sorry, I'm reading.
That's okay. You can read that again.
No, that's...
Sorry, I keep interrupting her. In her spot. Throwing her game off.
But
these are important little tidbits that I would be pausing and explaining because these are pieces you need to capture. You need to capture how they explained these planets that are in our solar system. When we look at Mars and it's dead and there's no water, but we see the erosion marks of water, and they explain that when they went there, the net pull was not good. That means the gravity, the force that sucks shit to that planet from space was not good. So they could easily just fly right into that and land easily, right? Ours is strong, so they got pulled right in like bam. Because remember, they're crystals. They are frequency, right? Water all over this shit. And if there wasn't water, there's snow. There's ice. That shit melts. Go ahead, baby.
Deftly Anzu the chariot made travel slower. By a lakeside it gently came down. Ea and Anzu their eagle's helmet donned. To the firm ground they stepped down. On command the heroes that which water sucks extended. The chariot's bowels with the lake's waters to fill. While the chariot was getting its fill of waters, Ea and Anzu the whereabouts examined. With tester and sampler all the matters they ascertained. The waters were good for drinking. The air was insufficient. All was in the chariot's annals recorded, the need for the detour described. With its vigor replenished, the chariot soared up, a benevolent Lamu farewell bidding. Beyond the seventh planet was making its circuit. Earth and its companion, the chariot, were inviting. In the commander's seat, Anzu was without words. Ea, too, was silent. Ahead was their destination, its gold Nibiru's fate for salvation or doom containing. The chariot must be slowed, or in Earth's quick atmosphere it shall perish, Anzu to Ea declared. Around Earth's companion, the moon, make slowing circles, Ea to him suggested. They circled the moon. By the vanquishing Nibiru in the celestial battle, it prostrate and scarred was lying. Having the chariot thus slowed down, toward the seventh planet Anzu the chariot directed.
So what did it say about the scar?
They circled the moon. By the vanquishing Nibiru in the celestial battle, it prostrate and scarred was lying.
So on the moon, there's a huge scar from an old battle right on that moon that they could see. So they had to circle the moon a bunch of times to slow themselves down to get used to the force of the actual Earth. You know, that was just something they did. We do it now.
Having the chariot thus slowed down toward the seventh planet, Anzu the chariot directed. Once, twice the Earth's globe he made the chariot circle. Ever closer to the firm land he lowered it.
What did he say?
Once, twice the Earth's globe he made the chariot circle.
Globe.
Ever closer to the firm land he lowered it.
Globe.
Snow-hued was 2/3 of the planet.
Snow-hued, 2/3. 2/3.
Dark-hued was its middle. They could see the oceans. They could see the firm lands. For the signal beacon from Alelu they were searching. Where an ocean touched dry land, where where an ocean touched dry land, where 4 rivers were swallowed by marshes, Alelu's signal was beaconed. Too heavy and large the chariot is for the marshes, Anzu was declaring. The Earth's pulling net too powerful for on dry land to descend it is, Anzu to Ea announced.
They'd crash.
Splash down in the ocean's waters, Ea to Anzu shouted. Around the planet, Anzu made one more circuit. The chariot, with much care toward the ocean's edge, he lowered. The chariot's lungs he filled with air. Into the waters down it splashed. Into the depths it was not sinking. From the speaker a voice was heard. To earth be welcomed, Alelu was saying. By his beamed words, the direction of his whereabouts was determined. Toward the place Anzu the chariot directed, floating as a boat it was upon the waters moving. Soon the wide-ranged ocean narrowed, dry land on both sides, as Guardian appeared. On the left side, brown-hued hills were rising. On the right, mountains to heaven, their heads raised. Toward the place of Alelu was the chariot moving, floating like a boat upon the waters it was. Ahead, the dry land was covered with flooding. Marshes, the oceans were replacing. Anzu to heroes commands uttered. Their fishes' suits to put on he ordered. A hatch of the chariot was then opened. Into the marshes the heroes descended. Strong ropes to the chariot they attached. With the ropes the chariot they were pulling. Alelu's beamed words, more powerful, were becoming. Hurry, hurry, he was saying. At the edge of the marshes, a sight there was to behold. Gleaming in the sunrays was a chariot from Nibiru, Alelu's celestial boat it was. The heroes, their paces quickened. Towards Alelu's chariot they hurried. Impatient, Ea donned his fish's suit. Within his chest his heart was like a drum beating. Into the marsh he jumped. Towards its edge hurried steps he directed. High were the marshes flooding. Deeper was the bottom than he expected.
So, real quick, you heard when they landed, they're looking around. So they saw the oceans, but they're like, damn, this thing's not sinking to the depths, right? They jump in the water. They're deeper than they thought they were, but not like they are today. The oceans fade. You guys ever been to like North Carolina or South Carolina where the oceans fade to marshes? Literally, I've watched sharks fight with alligators and shit. It's crazy. So this is what they describe. The oceans faded into marshlands on a huge flat plane of land. If you look at Google today, Google Earth, you can see underneath the water where the land used to be totally flat as hell. You know, and they said in the back, way back, there was mountains and hills and shit. They described it completely. So, you know, when it says God came here and made this and made that and blah, 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 blah. Well, when the God that they're talking about, when he came here, he already saw that shit. He saw it all. Now, later, he starts terraforming. And he says, mountains rose at my word's command, right? Because he was the leader. So he told other people to go, hey, man, go push that shit up into a big ass pile. Now, to us, it would be a mountain. We have, all these man-made mountains all over the world. Go ahead.
He changed his gait to swimming. With bold strokes forward he advanced. As dry land he was approaching, green meadows he could see. Then his feet touched firm ground. He stood up, and by walking he continued. Ahead he could see Alelu standing, with his hands with vigor waving. Coming out of the waters, ashore Ea stepped. On dark-hued earth he was standing. Alelu toward him came running, his son by marriage he powerfully embraced. Welcome to a different planet, Alelu to Ea said.
How cool would that be? How cool would that be, though? Mind you, notice, there's no welcoming party. Alelu, alone, by himself. He's been there for at least 3,600 years. They waited a whole shar before they figured out how to go there. So he's been there at least 3,600 of our years. That's a long fucking time, okay? Evolution would have happened. People would have wandered over to his ass and said, hey, man, what do you got this big ship here for? That was Jonah, and he got swallowed by the fucking whale and shit. You know what I'm saying? That was a submarine. And notice, no people, but still fish's suit. Here's the king. This is the fish god.
Now this is the account of how Iridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun.
Yep.
In silence did Alelu Ea embrace. With tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head. Respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing. More donned fish's suits, more toward the dry land were rushing. Keep the chariot afloat, Anzu was commanding. In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding. Ashore stepped the heroes. Before Alelu they were bowing. Ashore came an Anzu, the last the chariot to depart. Before Alelu he bowed. With him Alelu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived, Alelu words of welcome spoke. To all who were assembled, Ea words of command spoke. Here on earth I am the commander, he was saying. On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate.
420.
He looked about for a place of encampment. He was searching.
So now I just want to point something out here. They're describing everybody standing upright, walking on two legs, swimming, not having any kind of a tail, not slithering, not crawling on all fours, and then standing up like, you think maybe a lizard guy might do. I would think they would walk on all fours because it was their nature, and then stand up and talk. They're not describing any of these things, but later, just coming up, they talk about building a city for the upright ones. I don't understand. Go ahead.
Heap up soil, mounds fashioned there, Ea gave command, an encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing, a reed hut abode by Alelu erected. To Anzu, then words he directed. To Nibiru words by beaming deliver. To the king my father, Anu, successful arrival announce. Soon the hue of the skies was changing. From brightness to reddish it was turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding. The sun, as a red ball on the horizon, was disappearing.
Crazy, right? You would think people in our solar system see the sun as the same thing. But that's because we're going this way. This thing goes this way. So when they're by the sun, it's their period of hotness. It's a period of like summer. And when they're away from the sun, it's their cold period. They're away from the sun for a long time because they come on by the sun and then they go way out. And then they come by the sun and go way out. So they're generating their own light, their own heat, everything. When it comes by the sun, that frequency adds to their frequency and really turns up the shit for them. Now, when that happens, we call it the age of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius, right?
Hey. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding. The sun, as a red ball on the horizon, was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes. Of a great calamity, afraid they were. Alelu, with laughter of comfort, was saying, a setting of the sun it is. The ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest, lie down. A night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect the sun will an appearance make. On earth it will be morning.
Record this in your mental capacity, right? For us, the day is a long day. The night, it's a long fucking night. You can get some good rest. For them, it was unimaginably short. To like someone's back up.
To someone's short.
Like, and it's so fast, they start getting ill, like dizzy, like vertigo type situations is what they describe. Just imagine your time of frame, right? Where our day ticks by so freaking slow, right? Hundreds of years, thousands of years go by. For them, they're watching ant races down here. Shit is going so fast in their time, right? Looking down at us, they're like, wow, dude, these things they've built civilization. Oh, well, they killed themselves. Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at it like that. Their time ticks so slow. You know what I'm saying?
Before expecting, darkness came. The heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced. Rains the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown. Storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot the heroes hunkered down. In the chariot the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come. They were greatly agitated. With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared, they were joyful and backslapping. And it was evening, and it was morning. Their first day on earth it was. By daybreak, Ea the ongoings considered. To separate waters from waters he was giving. Engur he made of the sweet waters the master, drinking waters to provide.
Separating the waters from the waters, right? This is science. This is all it is science. He separated the sweet from the salty. That's what he did. So motherfuckers could drink some water. Yeah, it's quite clear. Quite clear.
To the snake pond with Alelu he went. Its sweet waters to consider. Evil serpents in the pond were swarming. So did Engur to Ea say. The marshlands Ea then contemplated. The abundance of rainwaters he weighed. Mbilulu he placed in charge of the marshlands. To mark out the thickest of reeds him he directed. And Kimdu in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to fashion, for the waters that from heaven rain a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated.
So do you understand, right? I'm not done with that sentence. Sorry.
Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated. Marsh waters from sweet waters asunder were set.
So now you hear it, right? So what they did was they went to the pond where all these snakes were. You know what it looks like. It's a marsh, swampy area. They found a spot where it had a lot of reeds, right? So they built dike and ditch. They built a moat around it so that when it rained, the rain would collect in that specific moat and keep filling this area up, right? That's where he would separate the waters from above from the waters from below, right? The waters from above are the clouds. That's the rain that comes down, right? All right.
All right. And it was evening and it was morning, the second day on earth it was.
Day 2.
When the sun morning announced, the heroes their assigned tasks were performing. With Alelu Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed. All that in the orchard grows, herbs and fruits after their kind to examine. To Isimud, his vizier, Ea questions was addressing. What is this plant? What is that plant? Him he was asking. Isimud, one of much learning, food that grows well, he could distinguish. He tore a fruit for Ea, a honey plant it is, to Ea he was saying. One fruit he himself ate, one fruit Ea was eating. Of food that grows by its good distinguished, Ea the hero guru put in charge.
So what was his name?
Isimud.
Isimud was in charge of all the things growing on this planet, and he went through and decided if they were good to eat or not good to eat. So there was already things that were growing on this planet that were good, right?
Thus were the heroes water and food provided. Satiated they were not. And it was evening, and it was morning. The third day on earth it was. I want to say something.
Well, satiated, you need to look that one up. So what that means is like I could eat food and I fill my belly. I fill my brain, right? My brain's like, this steak's good, but it's actually shit, right? It's no good for you, right? You eat that, you drink that glass of milk and you're poisoning yourself. It tastes good, but you're poisoning yourself really in the long run. So they weren't satiated. So imagine being a big, huge giant. You got all these big muscles, and I come to this planet and I'm eating the stuff that's native to that planet, and I'm losing muscle. I'm losing energy. Like, that's what it means. They weren't satiated with calories. They were getting full bellies, but they were not getting the nutrients they were used to on Nibiru, so they weren't satiated, right? They were happy, but they were not doing well.
On the fourth day, the wind ceased. On the fourth day, the wind ceased blowing. The chariot by waves was not disturbed.
And they were scared when it was raining and thundering and shit at nighttime. When the sun came up, they were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" They were backslapping. "Hey man, we made it!" Like
another harrowing couple moments.
Like they were scared. But we have reports back in the Greek days, in the Roman days, the seas back then were bad. Like they called it Poseidon, the god would fuck up the seas and shit. But literally, they talk about the seas being treacherous. They said the wind, it was good enough to report that the wind finally stopped blowing and the ship that was floating in the waves finally stopped.
Yeah.
Like imagine, you would think, well, it was just going up and down. Oh man, that motherfucker going, whoa! They were trying to hold on to it.
Let tools from the chariot be brought. Let abodes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula in charge of mold and brick Ea appointed.
Kula.
From Kula. From the clay bricks to fashion. Mushdamu to lay foundations he directed. Dwelling abodes to erect. All day the sun was shining. The great light by day it was. By
So,
eve time, oops,
one second. Mushdama, you heard it.
Mushdamu.
Mushdamu was in charge of laying foundations. Okay. So when you go through the world and go, hey man, who made these landing spots? Who made where the God came down and landed in space shuttle shit? Mushamu was in charge of that. He was the giant that made those big, huge platforms, right? And then the one before him was the one that was in charge of making all the bricks, right? So we always think that the ancient times it was all cut stone because we do see quarries. We do see quarries. But I told you guys it like 3 years ago, and they're finally saying it now, that we poured concrete. They poured granite. They poured granite. They didn't cut granite. They poured it. Why do you think it's so packed tight like it looks like concrete? It didn't form like that. They poured it. Go ahead.
By eve time, Kingu, Earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast, a lesser light to rule the night among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening, and it was morning, the 4th day on earth it was. On the 5th day, Ea Ningursig, a boat of reeds to fashion, commanded, the measure of the marshes to take, to the stretch of the swamplands to consider. Ulmash, he who what in the water swarms knows, who of fowl that fly has understanding. Ulmash, as a companion, Ea took between good and bad to distinguish.
So that person knows about all the fish, alligators, all that shit, and all the shit that fly in the air. And what was the first name? The Nisgurdal?
What?
That person, the first
Ningursig.
Ningursig. Keep that name in your head, man. It's so famous, this person.
Kinds that in the water swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing. To Ulmash many were unknown. Bewildering was their number. Good were the carp. Among the bad they were swimming.
You heard that. This person didn't know what a lot of these things were that were swimming and flying in our skies and in our waters. That is so interesting.
And Bilulu, the marshlands master, Ea summoned, and Kimdu, in charge of ditch and dike, Ea summoned. To them he gave words, in the marshlands to make a barrier, with cane brakes and green reeds, an enclosure to fashion, fish from fish there separate. A trap for carp that from a net could not escape, a place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. Thus were fish and fowl by their good kind separated for the heroes provided. And it was evening, and it was morning, the 5th day on earth it was. On the 6th day, Ea of the orchards, creatures took account. Inursag to the task he assigned, that which creeps and that which on feet walks to distinguish.
So bugs and animals.
Their kinds Inursag astounded, of the ferocity of their wildness to Ea an account he gave. Ea Kula summoned, to Mushdamu urgent commands he gave. By eve time, the abodes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be surrounded. The heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundations were quickly laid. With reeds were their roofings made, of cut down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu, a beam that kills, from the chariot brought over, a speaker that words beams, at Ea's abode he set up. By eve time, complete was the encampment, for the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Alelu and Anzu the doings considered. All that was done indeed was good. And it was evening, and it was morning, the 6th day. On the 7th day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words. A hazardous journey we have undertaken. From Nibiru to the 7th planet, a dangerous way we traversed. At earth we with success arrived. Much good we attained, an encampment we established. Let this day be a day of rest. The 7th day hereafter a day of resting always will be. Let this place henceforth by the name Iridu be called. Home in the far away, the meaning thereof will be.
So there you go. Ea. I know. Lord Anki put up the 7th day of rest. So when you're worshiping that, when you observe that, you go to church and that, you're reading about God. Know that it was Lord Anki, Ea, from Nibiru, a different planet, came here to mine gold and made those days for 50 heroes that came from Nibiru.
Let a promise be kept. Let Alelu of Eridu, the commander, be declared. The heroes thus assembled, in unison agreements shouted. Words of consent Alelu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given. Nudimud, the artful fashioner, let him be called.
Ea got a second name when he got to Earth, named what?
Nudimud.
Nudimud.
Nudimmud.
Nudimud. So my God has many names.
Yeah. In unison, the heroes' agreement announced, and it was evening, and it was morning, the 7th day. Now this is the account of how the searching for gold was begun, and how the plans of Nibiru made to Nibiru's salvation did not provide. After the encampment of Eridu was established, and the heroes with food were satiated, Ea the task of gold from the waters obtaining started. In the chariot of fire, stones were stirred up. Its great cracker was enlivened. That which water sucks from the chariot was extended. Into the marsh waters it was inserted. Into a vessel of crystals the waters were directed. From the waters, the crystals, all that is metal in the vessel extracted. Then from the vessel, that which spits out the waters to the fish pond spat out.
So he was sucking it from the marsh. Because remember, the oceans went into the marsh, right? And the marshland had fresh water. And then he was spitting it out into the fish pond after they would suck it out of there.
Thus were the metals that were in the waters in the vessel collected. Ingenious was Ea's handiwork, an artful fashioner indeed he was. For 6 earth days marsh waters were sucked in, marsh waters were spat out. In the vessel metals indeed were collected. The metals on the 7th day by Ea and Alelu were examined. Of many kinds were the metals in the vessel. Iron there was, much copper there was, of gold there was no abundance. In the chariot, another vessel, the artful handiwork of Nudimud. The metals, after their kinds, were separated. Ashore, kind by kind, they were carried. For 6 days, thus did the heroes toil. On the 7th day, they rested. For 6 days were the crystal vessels filled and emptied. On the 7th day were the metals accounted. There was iron, and there was copper, and other metals too. Of the gold, the smallest pile was accumulated. In the night times, the moon waxed and waned. By the name month did Ea its circuit call.
So in those times, the moon waxed and waned, which means the earth was spinning. In those times, the earth was a globe. And they worked for 6 days, rested the 7th day. Well, they cleaned out their gold deposit. And then what was that last part?
By the name month. So they recalled it.
That's when he noticed the moon waxed and waned. It changed. It didn't stay a full moon ever. The earth spun. So that's when they gave it the name the month, when it waxed and waned. Through that cycle, they gave it the name month.
Capital M, month.
Month.
The moon was called month.
Month.
Crap, where'd it go?
So that's just to say, like, that's when we call it, here's 1 month, and these are the days of the month. This is how things started. This is how it was formed.
At month's very start, its luminous horns 6 days signified. By its half crown, the 7th day it announced, a day to rest it was. At midway, by a fullness, was the moon distinguished. Then it paused to become diminished. With the sun's course was the moon's circuit appearing. With Earth's circuit, it was its face revealing. Fascinated by the moon's motion was Ea, its attachment as Kingu to Ki he contemplated. What purpose did the attachment serve? What heavenly sign was it giving? A month did Ea the moon's circuit call. Month to its circuit he gave the name. For 1 month, for 2 months, in the chariot were the waters separated. The sun every 6 months to earth another season gave. Winter and summer did Ea by names call them. There was winter and there was summer. By year of earth did Ea the full circuit call. By year's end of the accumulated gold account was taken.
So real quick, this is what he did. He had to figure out how to track time on this new planet. He noticed the moon was changing all the time. He was still in one season, but the moon was changing. You hear from the description of the moon, they were in the Middle East, to where the moon is, has crowns or horns. And then it has a crown because it's upside down for them, and then he tracks the time and notices that the sun, because it's spinning, we're spinning around it, is what's making the moon do that. And then through tracking that, the seasons change. So he was able to track that into a 1-year cycle. What up, Cottonmouth? Yo, you had us laughing our asses off, man, with that fucking seed drop. That was great. It was the top of the page.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I'm on a new page. Much to dispatch to Nibiru there was not. The swampland's waters are deficient. Let the chariot to the deeper ocean be moved, so was Ea saying. From its moorings was the chariot untied. Back whence it came, it was shifted.
Yep.
With great care were the crystal vessels stirred up, the salt waters through them passing. Metals by their kinds were separated. Gold among them was sparkling. From the chariot of the happenings, Ea to Nibiru word did beam. Anu to hear it was pleased indeed.
Yep. They were in the wrong kind of water. They were in fresh water first. Then they had to move to salt water.
In its destined circuit, Nibiru to the sun's abode was returning. A closeness to earth in its Shar circuit was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire. Is there enough for sending to Nibiru? He was asking. Alas, not enough was of the gold from the waters collected. Let another Shar pass, let the quantity be doubled, Ea to Anu counseled. From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued. In his heart Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out, a sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting of the sky chamber to take charge, he appointed.
One second. So you heard it, that they were there. They made the 7 days. They made the month. They made the year. They determined time. It skips. Then you realize they were there for 3,600 years. Nibiru came back around. And they were like, hey, man, how much gold you guys got? And they're like, hey, we really don't have much at all. We were here for 3,600 years and we didn't do shit, So they're like, hey, give us another 3,600 years. To the Nibiru people on their planet, it's just 1 year. They don't count it as 36, but on Earth, it's 3,600 years are going to go by again. So they're here for 7,200 years, and what happens?
From the chariot of the happenings, Ea to Nibiru, word did beam. Anu to hear it was pleased indeed. Hang on, I lost my space. In its destined circuit, Nibiru to the sun's abode was returning. A closeness to earth on its Shar circuit was Nibiru attaining. With eagerness did Anu about the gold inquire. Is there enough for sending to Nibiru? He was asking. Alas, not enough was the gold from the waters collected. Let another Shar pass. Let the quantity be doubled, Ea to Anu counseled. From the ocean's waters the obtaining of gold continued. In his art Ea with apprehension was filling. From the chariot parts were hauled out. A sky chamber from them was assembled. Abgal, he who knows piloting of the sky chamber, to take charge he appointed. Daily in the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. For the sky chamber an enclosure was constructed. By Alelu's chariot it was placed. Daily the crystals in Alelu's chariot did Ea study. What by their beams was discovered to understand. Whence does the gold come? He asked Alelu. Where on earth have Tiamat's golden veins? In the sky chamber with Abgal did Ea upward soar, the earth and its secrets to learn. Over great mountains they soared. In the valleys great rivers they saw. Steeps and forests below were stretched. Thousands of leagues was their reach. Vast lands separated by oceans they recorded. With the beam that scans the soils they penetrated. On Nibiru impatience was growing. Can gold protection provide? Was the outcry increasing? Assemble the gold. On Nibiru's nearing gold you must deliver. So did Anu Ea command. Repair Alelu's chariot. For returning to Nibiru make it fit. For the Char's completion make it ready. So Anu was saying. Ea his father's, the king, words was heeding. The repairing of Alelu's chariot he was contemplating. As the sky chamber one eve by the side of the chariot they landed. With Abgal the chariot they entered, a secret deed in the darkness to perform. The weapons of terror, the 7 of them, from the chariot they removed. To the sky chamber they took them, inside the sky chamber them to give hiding. By sunrise, Ea and Abgal in the sky chamber soared. To another land was their direction. There, in a secret place, did Ea the weapons hide. In a cave, a place unknown, he stored them. Then to Anzu, Ea words to give command, of command gave, to repair Alelu's chariot, him he directed. For returning to Nibiru, to make it fit, by the Shar's completion, to make it ready. Anzu, in the ways of chariots, greatly skilled, to the task his laborers set. He made its thrusters hum again, its tablets he carefully considered. The absence of the weapons of terror he soon discovered. With anger, Anzu cried out. Ea, of their hiding away, gave the explanation. Forsworn is the weapon's use, Ea was saying. Neither in the heavens nor on firm lands shall they ever be harnessed. Without them, no passage through the hammered bracelet is safe, Anzu was saying. Without them, without water thrusters, the danger is endurance surpassing.
So you hear, one second, hold your spot. You hear, okay, so God, Ea, your creator, you'll find out, is saying that nuclear weapons are forbidden in the heavens and on solid ground, right? In space and on solid ground. You can't use them, right? So it's just very interesting because there's all kinds of reports of aliens coming, spaceships coming, and taking out nuclear warheads, deactivating them. It's crazy.
Alelu of Iridu the commander, the words of Ea considered. To the words of Anzu, heed he gave. The words of Ea by the council of Nibiru are attested. Alelu was saying, but without the chariot's return, Nibiru shall be doomed. Abgal, he who knows piloting, boldly toward the leader stepped forward. I shall be the pilot. The dangers I shall valiantly face, he was saying. Thus was the decision made. Abgal shall be the pilot. Anzu on earth shall be staying. On Nibiru, the stargazers, the destinies of the celestial gods contemplated. An opportune day they were selecting. Into Alelu's chariot, basketfuls of gold were carried. The forepart of the chariot Abgal entered. The commander's seat he occupied. From the chariot of Ea, to him, Ea a tablet of destiny gave.
And this is microscopic dust particles, people. We're talking about they electrolyzed or whatever it's called. They sucked them out of the water and made them stick to crystals, basically, right? So these are specks. When you're in the ocean, you're surrounded by minerals in that water, but you can't see them, right? If you had the right kind of filter. So they carried multiple baskets of freaking dust, gold dust in this chariot, man. That's amazing. They were giants.
It shall be that which shows the way for you. By it the
GPS.
By it the opened pathway you shall find.
GPS.
The chariot's firestones Abgal stirred up. Their hum like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened. A reddish brilliance it was casting. Ea and Alelu, the multitude of heroes, were standing around. Farewell to him they were bidding. Then the chariot with a roar heavenward rose. To the heavens it ascended. To Nibiru, words of the ascent were beamed. On Nibiru, there was much expecting.
Much expecting. Great tablet today, for sure. We heard tons of crazy knowledge. Crazy knowledge, though. Water on crystals and makes it fly, So they were tripping, though, because, without those nuclear weapons on that specific ship, they were like, we can't get through that asteroid field, man.
That was like their backup.
Yeah. So he's like, don't worry. I'm going to fix this ship and put the water in it. It'll be cool, man. And he's like, okay, cool. And then it's like, look, we got the GPS here, that which shows the way. And he's going to go choop, 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 and fly right through. I think in the future, though, because they need to keep continuously going back and forth to Nibiru. So they wait till Nibiru gets close. And I think it's when it gets inside, say, the asteroid field, or maybe right outside Jupiter, and they're able to fly to it. So to get out of the asteroid field in the future, I think they actually might put up some kind of ring force field thing.
Yeah.
That holds the space open so they could just go through. Because how would they just always be blasting asteroids out into space, like destroying shit? You can't, as the creator gods, how irresponsible would that be?
Right.
You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me of why they would keep destroying shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally. Hell yeah.
What if that's
That was
Hazy's
good
comment? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That was a great show today.
Fabulous. Thank you for staying and watching and listening as we read and discussed.
Yes, and it was great learning about their first journey to Earth, making of the 7 days, the month, and the year.
Yeah.
We
learned all about the beginning. In the beginning, guys, the first 7 days, we learned about this today.
In the beginning.
What happened in the first 7 days? Aliens came to the planet and they built an encampment.
Yep. And Lord Ea made all the shit. Ea named it all because he was in charge.
Yeah.
And you're going to find out what happens in the next episode, the next tablet, because it starts getting...
Fourth tablet is next.
It starts getting so Bible. It's so crazy, you know?
Here where these stories really start sounding familiar.
You're going to start hearing the truth.
Got the familiarity really a lot today.
You're welcome, Deidre. You're very welcome.
You're very welcome.
I saw something crazy. What did you see crazy real quick? What did you see crazy? Did you see a portal open? I see portals. You guys have heard me talk for years about these crazy whoop, whoop, that happened right out here. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? People have watched, what are those orbs? Manifest right next to me and float away. I'm like, did you guys just see that? It's on the videos, and they'll go back and like, I see it. I saw it. I went back. In the beginning, I took a big hit.
I took a breath. In the beginning, I opened my eyes. In the beginning, I saw the universe. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Twister, you should watch my video I just uploaded.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We always do. Fuck yeah. And then we'll put it on the show.
We'll definitely put it on the show.
Happy 4th. Stay safe.
Yes.
And lifted.
Yes. Happy 4th of July, everybody. It is tomorrow, mañana. So be safe. Try not to spend a fortune on gas if you can help it.
Yeah, that's super cool, dude. There's lots of videos of that out there now. That's super cool.
Oh,
You
wow.
got to see
Cool.
that. I see things falling from space. Like, it's wild, the things I see falling from space all the time. And then I take pictures and zoom in, and there's aliens. There's flying craft.
They're dumping their garbage.
They are, though. I think they just drop by and take a shit, and then we get this weird rain real quick. And you're like, oh, that shit smells. Then your plants grow really, really well. And then when you smoke them, you're like, man, that's some out of this world shit right there. And they're like, I fertilized it, bro. You know,
with out of this world shit.
Yep. They come and sprinkle. They sprinkle their tinkle on you.
Yeah.
And it comes down as a crystal, and it's like high frequency shit radiating. And it's like one of those salt crystals that slowly just leaches off into your plant. Your plant's like,
hey.
And then next thing you know, you got Little Shop of Horrors and shit. And it's like, feed me, Seymour. But if it's a cannabis plant, it's going to be like, yo, you got a dab? It's going to be out in your backyard yelling, hey, man, it's time to smoke, man. And it's like, I'm going to pick myself if you don't get out here and smoke with me. You know, it'd be crazy. Regard to going to crack up the large hadron. Oh, yeah, that's tomorrow. No, on the 5th. On the 5th, they're about to pull out the God particle again. So watch out, man. Watch out. The shit's about to flip again. Flip again. Do you know there's a different Simpson? Yeah, that shit's wild. I never knew that shit. But all right, everybody.
Thank you.
Definitely time to smoke. Let's take one more hit. Yeah, there's a little bit. I'll let you have the first hit. Okay. One last hit before we go, everybody.
Uno más.
Join us on our other multiple times and shows. And
yes, we're everywhere, guys.
Yeah.
All down below. Check out the
joining.
description. We are Hippie
Ganja
Witch
Gospel.
and Hippie Homesteading and TwizTD RootZ and MichiganjA MisfiTZ. And don't forget about the Dorkening, Hellfire Radio, and Still Toking with. And there is another one that's Green Haven out there that is a new thing for weed related things. So I'm sure we'll all love that. So check that out. Green
check
Haven
them out,
Media.
man.
And,
comic books and horror movies, man. Check them
below.
out, dude. It's super fucking dope. Super cool. you could have the chance to go meet these people and get autographs signed if you're into that stuff. And I know a lot of you little junkies are. You got little bobbleheads and shit.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate the lot of you.
Oh, we can't burn it at the same time like this.
Well, you can't take the whole hole.
Take it to the hole, baby. Until next time on the Ganja Gospel, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one. Oh, we got to end this one first. We have to end this side first. We always forget to set this up. It's okay. It's a great time. Great time to be alive.
It's a great time to be alive.
With the third eye.
Welcome to the age of enlightenment, everybody. Until next time.
Get your seeds. Get your salves. Third eye strains.
Stay enlightened.
Twin Flame Farmz. Peace out.